Chapter 3. Next evening, while he waited for her to come downstairs, Dexter peopled the soft, deep summer room and the sun porch that opened from it with the men who had already loved Judy Jones. He knew the sort of men they were, the men who, when he first went to college, had entered from the great prep schools with graceful clothes and the deep tan of healthy summers. He had seen that, in one sense, he was better than these men. He was newer and stronger. Yet, in acknowledging to himself that he wished his children to be like them, he was admitting that he was but the rough, strong stuff from which they eternally sprang. When the time had come for him to wear good clothes, he had known who were the best tailors in America. He had acquired that particular reserve peculiar to his university that set it off from other universities. He recognized the value to him of such a mannerism, and he had adopted it. He knew that to be careless in dress and manner required more confidence than to be careful. But carelessness was for his children. His mother's name had been Kermslish. She was a bohemian of the peasant class, and she had talked broken English to the end of her days. Her son must keep to the set patterns. At a little after 7, Judy Jones came downstairs. She wore a blue silk afternoon dress, and he was disappointed at first that she had not put on something more elaborate. This feeling was accentuated when, after a brief greeting, she went to the door of a butler's pantry and, pushing it open, called, "You can serve dinner, Martha." He had rather expected that a butler would announce dinner, that there would be a cocktail. Then he put these thoughts behind him as they sat down side by side on the lounge and looked at each other. "Father and mother won't be here," she said thoughtfully. He remembered the last time he had seen her father, and he was glad that the parents were not to be here tonight. They might wonder who he was. He had been born in Keebly, a Minnesota village 50 miles further north, and he was always gave Keebly as his home instead of Black Bear Village, country towns, where well enough to come from if they weren't inconveniently in sight and used as a footstool by fashionable lakes. They talked of his university, which she had visited frequently during the past 2 years, and of the nearby city which supplied Sherry Island with its patrons, and whither Dexter, who returned next day to his prospering laundries. During dinner, she slipped into a moody depression, which gave Dexter a feeling of uneasiness. Whatever petulance she uttered in her throaty voice worried him. Whatever she smiled at him, at a chicken liver, at nothing, it disturbed him that her smile could have no root in mirth or even in amusement. When the scarlet corners of her lips curved down, it was less a smile than an invitation to a kiss. Then, after dinner, she led him out of the dark sun porch and deliberately changed the atmosphere. "Do you mind if I weep a little?" she said. "I'm afraid I'm boring you," he responded quickly. "Oh, you're not. I like you. But I just had a terrible afternoon. There was a man I cared about, and this afternoon he told me out of a clear sky that he was poor as a church mouse. He'd never even hinted it before. Does this sound horribly mundane?" "Perhaps he was afraid to tell you." "Suppose he was," she answered. "He didn't start right, you see. If I'd thought of him as poor, well, I've been mad about loads of poor men, and the fully intended to marry them all. But in this case, I hadn't thought of him that way, and my interest in him wasn't strong enough to survive the shock. As if a girl calmly informed her fiancé that she was a widow. He may not object to widows, but—" "Let's start right," she interrupted herself suddenly. "Who are you, anyhow?" For a moment, Dexter hesitated. Then, "I'm nobody," he announced. "My career is largely a matter of futures." Are you poor? No, he said frankly. I'm probably making more money than any man my age in Northwest. I know that's an obnoxious remark, but you advised me to start right. There was a pause. Then she smiled, and the corners of her mouth dropped, and an almost imperceptible sway brought her closer to him, looking up into his eyes. A lump rose in Dexter's throat, and he waited breathless for the experiment, facing the unpredictable compound that would form mysteriously from the elements of their lips. Then he saw. She communicated her excitement to him lavishly, deeply, with kisses that were not a promise, but a fulfillment. They aroused in him not hunger demanding renewal, but surfeit that would demand more surfeit. Kisses that were like charity, creating want by holding back nothing at all. It did not take him many hours to decide that he wanted Judy Jones ever since he was a proud, desirous little boy.